Hello, welcome. Welcome to up-level Vinyasa class, advanced Vinyasa. And if you are familiar with my work, you know that I don't offer a typical flow or power flow. So, of course, at any time, you're free to do whatever you want. Please take care of yourself and don't do anything that doesn't feel right or that outright hurts. Discomfort, challenge, confusion, uncertainty, great, fine, include that. But no pain and no weirdness, even if it's not pain. I want to talk about perspective a little bit before we start. And the human brain and the human ego really likes, prefers, desires some sort of concrete way of knowing, predicting, relying on things. And the Dharma teaches us that there is nothing ultimately reliable, that there's ultimately no fixed perspective, ultimately no where we can land, no one thing that we can count on forever. Which is part of the reason why I like to change up my practice a lot, so I don't get caught in these deep grooves of habit and reliability, and then when some linchpin gets pulled or the carpet gets pulled, or there's a pandemic or an injury or an unexpected turn of events, that I get too unsettled about that. One way we can work with shifting perspective or keeping perspective fresh is right here in our little personal laboratories or our little personal cosmos. I trust in the concept of as above, so below, as within, so without, as the micro is the macro, as the macro is the micro. So this little cosmic universe and my capacity to relate to it in unexpected, unconditional, unprogrammed ways, like to explore new actions, new depths, new responses, new stimulus in the body, and my physical practice helps me to have more options, not only in my mind, but in my movement, in my choices, my behaviors in general, in the world when I'm off the mat. So one concept I would like to drop on you today, in the interest of this different perspective, it's also this particular thing I'm going to offer you, and we'll weave it a little bit into our practice, especially in the beginning, to sort of set the tone, has a therapeutic application as well. So I'm going to come a little closer to the camera so you can see. And the idea is how we move at a joint space. And so if you've got some good chops with anatomical language, it will be helpful. At a joint space, there's at least 2 bones, sometimes 3 or more. I mean, look at the joint spaces in the hand, right? But we typically will move a joint by way of the most distal bone. For example, and that distal means furthest from your center versus proximal. So I can move one leg in external rotation by way of moving the thigh bone out and in. I can do the same action, so moving the thigh bone is a distal joint movement action. I'm moving the bone that's furthest from my center. The same action can be done with the proximal movement by stabilizing the thigh bone and moving the pelvis around it. External rotation, internal rotation by way of the more proximal bone. External rotation, internal rotation by way of the most distal bone. Same with the arm. I can abduct my arm off the center shoulder, arm, whatever you want to call it, and adduct it back to the center by way of moving the most distal bone at this joint. I can also find that same action. My arm is abducted away from the center, and now it's adducted towards the center by way of moving the rib cage inside the shoulder blade, or even the shoulder blade on top of the arm bone. Get it? So we're gonna play with, I play with it a lot, but I'm calling it what it is. I don't know why I have this itchy spot on the palm of my hand that's distracting me. So for a class today, for sure, one blanket, likely a couple of blocks, likely a belt, and either a bolster or more blankets. Like, I have this loose plan, and it's not always apparent to me in the moment how it's gonna manifest, especially in this context. Virtual yoga. All right, so here we go. Please get your blanket rolled up and on the ready. And if you've got a decent yoga blanket, you know, there's the fringe side perhaps. You'll have a more integrated or thicker side where the fold of the blanket is rolled up, and the looser side where the edges of the blanket are rolled up. Go ahead and place your blanket roll lengthwise on your mat and have actually it's not true, we're not using it yet. So just roll it up and set it aside. And then start with your toes towards the back edge of your mat in child's pose in kneeling, and bring your shins right together. Before you fold into child's pose, make fists and tuck them right in front of the pelvic belly, where your ovaries are or were, or your vas deferens if you have a male body, and fold over them and allow the weight of the body to yield. If most of the weight in this position is moving towards your head, you could grab your blanket roll and put it under your head so you can tip more weight back to the hips. So a combination here of a little wobble and full breath. And with the fists shoved up into your belly and the compressed nature of the torso in this shape can make breath movement a little more challenging. So look to flood and spread open the back. Free the left hand, sweep that arm all the way overhead and then to the right some. So the hips swing a little to the left some, and your right fist is still in the right side belly. If the left shoulder is unhappy, bring the head up higher, right? And invite length through the whole left side torso, all the way to that left hip that's hanging down. Back to center, switch hands. Left fist goes back in the belly. Right arm comes up and over and around and over to the left. And straight down the middle with both arms overhead, no fists in the belly. And I invite you on the exhale to do a shoulder shimmy. I'm going to come to fingertips because my shoulders don't mind. Sit on up. And if you have a really thick mat, just toss it aside if you can. And if you have a thin mat, fold it in half lengthwise. In the end, one more time, fold it in half widthwise. So your mat is folded in fours, and it's just like a miniature size of what it was before. It's like a yoga mat for your doll, your dolly. And then place the blanket roll on that with, again, this more firm folded side right on the edge of that. So firm edge of rolled up mat right on the edge of the blanket. And then as you come to land, pubic bone just off the blanket. Pubic bone just off. So the edge, the firmer edge of the blanket roll is up into the squish of my soft belly. So hopefully your bladder is voided and your bowels. And if the bowels haven't been voided this morning, this might help. All right, so depending on how long you are, how long your blanket is, you might be able to rest your chin or stack your two hands, rest your forehead, either on the blanket or on the floor in front of the blanket. And then from here, simply untuck the toes, let the legs go long. Maybe a little extra intention to reach through the big toe side of each foot, so lengthen the inner thighs. And allow the breath and the weight of the body to melt you over the blanket. And I'm going to do a little wobble, pelvic halves, dripping one at a time over the edge of the blanket. And through this wobbling, you could, I am, sort of scooching over towards one side, going to my right side first, to get into where the iliacus and the psoas live and the parts of the colon. Right side is ascending, probably for everyone, for most people. There are some significant anatomical anomalies in the organs and the muscles and the bones, so no guarantees. So yoga teachers talk like they know what's up, but it's all a guess. It's all only part of the story. And I think we do well to include the openness, the uncertainty for the rest of the story, even though we don't know it and may not ever know it. So squiggle over, rock and sway over to the left side of the cave of the pelvis. Pause there. We'll stay wobbling there, but stay over there. And then the next time you let that left pelvic half get heavy, go ahead and tip off the blanket to your left side. And so you're laying on your left side and, pseudo spooning the blanket. Go ahead and bend the left knee so the foot goes straight back. Don't bend the hip, right? Flex the knee only. So the two thighs are still stacked. And then the right leg, the top leg, exhale, bring the knee forward. So real slow, slow, slow. It's hovering, it's floating, and I'm sort of pressing against the blanket to stabilize me. Exhale. How high can the knee come up? How much can you curl the right sit bone forward without changing what's happening in the left pelvic half? And then swing slowly, real slowly. Swing the knee to sort of stack with the left and then pass it, swing it back, swing it back. And repeat, real slow, real slow. So a slow gathering in the front of the right hip, the pelvic belly. I'm using my right hand so I don't face plant into the blanket. And then a slow. So this is sort of a follow-up maneuver from yesterday's somatics class. This idea of pandiculating. So a slow engaging, a slow releasing, a lengthening. And we're sort of blurring the two sides together. I'm going to do a straight leg because I can, right? So if you know that your hamstrings are like, then don't, right? So work with the bent knee. Otherwise, if you've got the straight leg, work with it. And when the leg goes behind, bending the knee. Then, let's say one more time forward. And backward. And forward again. And this time with the forward, whether you got the knee bent or knee straight, leave that leg out there. Straighten your bottom leg, the left leg, and roll back onto the blanket. So right knee can be bent or straight. Pubic bone is dropped off the edge of the blanket. And so ideally, right pelvic half is scooping by way of the sit bone down and under. I'm supinating my right foot, trying to get the sole of that foot to the floor, and I can reach my foot. So I'm going to assist the toes a little bit that tend to get left out. And now trying to like scoop the floor towards me with that right foot. At the same time I'm gathering that inner leg, wrapping outer leg, scooping sit bone under. Left leg, straighten it. Straighten both legs, just left leg. Right leg can be bent. And make the pubic bone on the right side the heaviest point. Right side. We say pubic bone as if there's one. There's two. Whatever you want to do with the torso here, I'm going to bring a bigger back bend in because I don't have any SI joint issues. People with SI stuff, please stay integrated. Stay gathered there. Don't let it slip out of place. Hang on. And then releasing the right leg. Keeping both sets of toes tucked under. For a moment, firm the knees. And then when you're ready, let the legs go, untuck the toes, return to the shifting and sliding and tipping of the pelvis side to side, and then fall off, roll off the blanket to the right. Snuggle your blanket, Snuggle-asana. Bend the right knee only, so the foot goes behind you. And then left knee can bend. Keep left knee bent for as long as you need to. And exhale, flexing at the left hip. Deepen the belly. Curl the left sit bone under. And then slowly releasing. So the leg is hovering in space. You're going to feel it in the outer hip, perhaps, as fatigue or some kind of work. When the leg goes behind you, don't let the knee go up in the air. That's really easy. Can you keep the leg at the same level? I'm going to do one more with the bent knee. Again, using left hand so I can stay on my side here because this is not a sustainable shape on your side without support, I don't think. Keep the knee level or lower than the hip. And I'm going for a straight leg. You do not have to. Keep the right knee reaching opposite the head. It's not an easy movement necessarily. Real slow. And in the slowness, can you sense smooth sliding of the joint space? Smooth sliding of the joint space. One more. One more forward and back. Notice what funny business your right leg is up to and see if you can make another choice. No funny business, unless it's on purpose. And this time, when the left leg goes to the left, leave it out there. Whether you're working with a bent knee or a straight leg, roll back up onto your blanket roll. Pubic bone is off the blanket roll, so the lumbar spine is encouraged to stay long by way of the support. Left sit bone invited to scoop under because there's space to do it. Right leg so straight, and ideally your right hip point is dropping. Left sit bone dropping. Two pelvic halves work with the legs. Don't let your pelvis turn into a fixed block, or one side's a block and the other side's like crumbling. If that's your scenario, I highly encourage you to really change your practice. You can't just keep doing what you've been doing. Clearly. From here, when you're ready, any amount of deepening of the movement or not, right? It's not required. Before you bring it all back down. From here, elbows under you, and I'm just going to interlace my hands over the edge of the blanket, then elbow plank. Elbow plank, you can do right knee swings to the right, down, knee is bent, and then under to the left. Or a straight leg. 2, we're going to do 5. Back toes are sliding. This is 3. 4. 5. Stay in your plank or come down for a respite. If you take a respite, pubic bone off the blanket roll. Other side. Stay with the knee bent if that's your best medicine. Otherwise, straight leg. 2. I need to adjust my bottom leg every time. 3. 4. 5. Lower belly down, pubic bone off the bolster. Press tops of feet to floor. Can you build a little back bend and still yield the belly around the blanket? Can you invite the depth of your belly and spread the sacrum, back of pelvis, sideways, forward around it as you lift the heart? Child's pose. I'm doing wide knees, landing on the support. Keep your setup like it is. You turn around. Spine on the blanket. And most of the weight of your pelvis is towards your sit bones. So the edge of the blanket catching you at about mid-sacrum. If your head is falling off because you're tall, your blanket is small, support your head. But this idea that enough of the pelvis is falling off the blanket that if you were to bring your feet up off the floor, you would have to do some work. And there's a fine line. Like, I think I have too much of my pelvis off, so I'm going to bring it up just a micron. However you measure a micron, that's your call. And start with arms out to the side. Legs together-ish. And yield the weight of your spine on the blanket without letting the sides of you spill open. Can you keep this sense of deep belly, wide back, even when there's no support behind and there's this invitation to just like let go in the front? So step one here to test that is your ability to pick one foot up off the floor without tipping at all. Without tipping or listing, to use boat language. Right? And it's easy, much easier with the arms out to the side. So I invite you, whatever point you want to, if you do want to stack your arms on your chest. And then if you are able to get one foot up without wobbling, see if the other foot can come up. Really tricky, sneaky core work. Soft, soft belly. So simply the interest and the attempt is doing the work we need to stabilize. If you want to give yourself a little edge, I'm going to do it arms wide, and then bring both feet up, and then see if you can draw your arms in. Another 30 seconds or so doing this. You know, the idea isn't to just nail something, right? To just get it, dominate it, and then next, if you ask me, that's not the idea. The idea is to engage with something over time. Keep unanswered open questions in your mind. Be willing to have no answers to your questions. Okay, go ahead and let the bum slide off the edge of the blanket. Come on up to sit. Soles of the feet together, knees wide. Just pause here. Baddha Konasana. If this shape makes your lumbar spine roll back, you cannot get onto your sit bones, then put your pelvis right up on that blanket. And then let the sit bones narrow underneath you. Engage, lifting pelvic floor. Follow a few rounds of breath here, full in and full out. And when you touch empty, I invite you to hold on to the front of your knees, shins. Stay with the exhale and lift and drop the belly. Relax, inhale. Sustain, long, slow exhale. And if you're game and able, do it again. One more time. You could lift and hold. If you know Nowly, go for it. Here, when you come up and to normal breath for the next time, swing the left knee up and over to the right and stack the left ankle in the arch of your right foot, Bardhadrasana. Right hand can come behind you, left hand can catch the right thigh and twist. Now, you can keep left sit bone rooted. That's classic, right? If you let the left sit bone come up by way of proximal movement of a joint space, getting more internal rotation for the right leg. And I'm actually getting a lot more loveliness through here. Spreading. You can toggle between dropped sit bone and lifted sit bone. And let it snake through the spine if you enjoy such a thing as I do. And then when you're ready, untwist. Left knee opens, right knee folds over. Stack right ankle and arch of left foot. Right hand to left thigh. Left hand behind. Either keep right sit bone heavy or float it to get a little bit more internal rotation of your left leg. And you can go back and forth, sit bone down, sit bone up, and let it roll through the spine. So sit bone up is like cat pose and a twist. Nope, cow pose and a twist. Sit bone down is like cat. So it's almost like cow, cat, and a twist by way of Bardhadrasana. Then both hands on either side of your mat setup. Pull your knees under you. Move the blanket roll out of the way. Unfold your mat. Or put it back in place if you just moved it out of the way. Hands and knees. Cats and cows. Neutral spine. Left hand under the heart. Right hand behind the head. Push the left hand into the floor so much that it turns by way of the shoulder, the chest open. Right elbow reaches for the ceiling. I'm going to break that down a little bit more. Come on back to chest facing the floor, right elbow facing the floor. Go ahead and let the right elbow get a little closer to the floor. And then push with your left arm and feel the ribs slide inside left shoulder blade to start to open the chest. And then once you get the full opening by way of left arm pushing, then swing right elbow open. And then bring right elbow closed and moving the rib cage so you come out of the twist. Push the left arm into the floor one more time. So the left arm goes into abduction by way of moving the rib cage, and then open the right side. And then switch hands. So you push the floor away to get the undercurve of the twist, as I would call it. Right? To get those right ribs to sling down. And then actively rotating left shoulder blade around the rib cage. Now that's the distal bone moving. And then let the left shoulder blade wrap forward. Let the rib cage wrap around. One more time. Push right arm down. Unfurl the rib cage. Left elbow up And then both hands down, down dog. So here, when we bend one knee and let the pelvis sort of hang from the straight leg thigh bone, that's internally rotating that straight leg by way of moving the pelvis. And also adducting. I'm going to say more adducting than rotating. So by way of moving the pelvis, we're adducting. And then we can abduct by lifting up the bent knee side pelvis. You feel me? Do you feel, more importantly, do you feel you? Because, you know, that's where the information is. You might, if you're a visual learner, you'll get information from watching. If you're a kinesthetic learner, for sure you got to find it. Regular dog. Reach left arm past the outside of that right leg. So the reaching of the arm is going to pull the ribs around. And then moving the rib cage underneath the right shoulder blade for an upper spine twist. And then left hand goes forward again. Step right foot forward. Push with your left hand to unfurl the rib cage, much like we just did in all fours. And I invite you with that right hand, the play between the right hand and the left hand, make it like a bow and arrow. Left hand's pushing the bow away, right hand's pulling the bowstring back. And then releasing right hand to floor. Step, right foot back. Pause, gather, right arm reaches past outer left leg and let it pull the ribs and let the ribs sort of spin underneath that left shoulder blade. I'm not telling you to grab on, I'm telling you to reach. And then right hand forward, left foot forward. Right hand plunges, left hand pulls as you unwind or wind up, whatever it feels like to you. The ribs, like pull with the left hand, that imaginary bowstring. Left hand down, left foot back. Left hand back, reach. Left hand forward like it's bringing the right foot with you. Left hand pushes, right hand pulls. Now add to this, heavy that right sit bone, heavy it. Like move it towards that right heel and let that float you up. Garden variety lunge. Hello. Can you magnetize your left thigh bone to the ceiling above you as you magnetize your right sit bone to your right heel below and in front of you? Turn it on, turn it up, and then let it go. Right hand reaches back past left leg. And then pull it forward. Right hand forward, left foot forward. Push right hand down. Pull left hand up and root left sit bone under so much that it floats you up. Right thigh bone to the heavens, left sit bone to Middle Earth. Pour your concentration into that contrast. From here, if you want to go all the way through both dogs, because so many people equate that with what they think the word Vinyasa means, go for it. But it's not required by any means. Right leg, knee bends, just the knee, like heel to sit bone. And then can you internally rotate the right leg? And now by way of the pelvis, externally rotate your left leg. Oh, what does that mean? That means your pelvis turns open. By way of the pelvis. moving the more proximal bone to externally rotate the leg. Return pelvis to, we'll say, neutral, although that's debatable. And then right leg lands. If you want both dogs, take them. Left knee bends, knees are side by side. Internally rotate your left leg by way of the leg. By way of the pelvis, externally rotate your right leg. And then return both dogs if you want them. Cat-cow could be enough. I'm doing cow to knees, chest, chin. To up dog, to down dog. Same beginning, different ending. Bend right knee. By way of the right leg, internally rotate the right leg. By way of the pelvis, externally rotate the left leg. Extend the right leg. Swing it all the way up. Oh wait, yeah. All the way up, over, and across the left leg from behind. Cross it from behind. And then bend the left knee and keep reaching that right leg across. And then plank pose if you're going for the full dog flow. And up and back. Left knee bends, internally rotate left leg by the leg, externally rotate right leg by the pelvis, straighten left leg. Pause. It's like half moon, right? But you got both hands on the ground. Swing left leg all the way over, down and behind you to the right. Bend the right knee a lot and try to keep that left leg really close. And then back to neutral and back to symmetry. Whatever symmetry looks like for you. Could be dogs and cats, it could be both dogs. 2 more versions of this. Same beginning, different ending. Go ahead and find the turning out, the 3-legged dog. This time when you circle, the right leg is going to go under in front of the left leg. And way over there, squiggle left leg back. So, I don't know, people call this different things. You could stay up in the plank, or you could bring the hip down and like make it more of a back bendy thing, trying to internally rotate the back leg. Or you could bring it down to the elbows, which might give you a little more juice for the front leg, and more juice isn't always better. You got to decide if the juice is worth the squeeze. Mostly for me, it's following the pathways of weight through the bones, keeping my joint spaces sound, safe, and quiet. Looking for length and strength all at the same time. Back to symmetry. Whatever that looks like for you. There's no secret sauce. I mean, it's all secret sauce. There's either no or it's only secret sauce, if you ask me. Left knee bends. Internally rotate by the leg. Right leg externally rotates by the pelvis. Straighten left leg. Swing the leg up and over, under, in front of the right leg and out to the right. So by way of the pelvis, we have more dramatically rotated the right leg. By way of the proximal bone, the bone closer to our center, we have rotated internally the right leg. And the leg is like trying to internally rotate itself too. So there can also be both actions together, right? So that's another perspective. Back to symmetry. Whatever that looks like for you. For me, it's going to be kneeling, interlace the hands behind, and just pause here. We have one more version of that, and then we're going to leave it. Outer hip lengthening is what we're doing some of here. Side body is an important landmark in some systems for springtime balance, Oriental medicine specifically. And I trust in that system deeply. Same beginning, different ending. Right knee bends, internally rotate right leg by the pelvis. And why don't you start to open up that right hip? So can you point that internally rotated right leg kneecap towards the ceiling, and then unfurl the pelvis, and then straighten the leg. And this time, when you swing it out and around, once again behind the left leg, walk your hands back. And then can you tuck, without that right foot touching the floor, can you tuck that right leg into the back of your left knee and come into sort of a squat? I don't know what people call this. It's a martial artsy thing. And then from here, standing splits. Just shoot that right leg straight up to the sky. And then walking your hands forward, come back through symmetry of whatever nature speaks to you. Left knee bends, internally rotate and extend. And then roll the pelvis away from that right leg, externally rotating it. Extend left knee, up and over to the left, down and behind. Right leg, walk your hands back as the leg keeps reaching to the right, and you fold that right knee over that left leg. Hello, outer hip deliciousness. And I get an inner thigh cramp on one leg, this leg, which is good information for me that that muscle wants to be shortened more, like this. When you get a cramp, if you're hydrated, it's a message that you're in new territory. It's good news. Usually, even though it's not fun. Standing splits, hi-ya, like a dart, up to the ceiling. Come back to symmetry. Okay, one more time with the legs, same beginning. This time, when you swing the right leg up and over, step it up to the outside of your right hand. So the knee is by your shoulder. Spin left heel flat. Kick the left heel a little more to the back of the mat. If you can, right hand stays on the floor. Pull the right sit bone under. And then a deep side angle pose. Deep. Left hand down, side plank, right leg comes around. You could catch the right foot if you like and take it up to Vashisthasana 2. Depends on your chops. Back to symmetry. Bend left knee, internally rotate left leg, extend the hip, knee goes up, unroll the pelvis to externally rotating the right leg, straighten the left leg, swing it up, out, over and forward to the outside of your left hand, spin right heel flat and send the heel a little further back. If you can keep your left hand down there, do it. Pull your hips under. If your hips are way behind you, I think you're missing the mark, you bring the elbow higher. Get your hips under you. If you can keep your hips under you, left hand stays on the ground, and reach the right arm long. Keep splitting the two inner thighs away from each other. Left thigh forward, under and forward. Right thigh, inner thigh, under and back. Like a spiral between the two legs. Back to symmetry. Here now, I invite you to pause on the belly. Untuck the toes, put the forehead down. Keep the fingertips pointing forward, fingers organized towards the head of the mat. Slide your palms back so the heels of the hand come off the floor, but the fingers don't. Little palmar fascia spreading. So the knuckles of the hands don't have to be down. In fact, for most of you, it's not going to be an option. How far you drag the hands back is a factor here. So if you went way too far, start over. Shoulder blades snugging, hugging, gathering towards the spine and down the back. Like you could tuck both of your shoulder blades on top of your sacrum. Now make your pubic bone real heavy. And keep inching the arms, hands, fingers back. Keep tucking, diving, gathering, shoulder blades down and back. Make your shins heavy, your pubic bone heavy, just like before. And all the while we're sort of catching our breath here. And then eventually sweep the arms back. Palms face the ceiling. Can you reach more through the thumb side and then try to push the ceiling up with the palms of the hands? Squeeze shoulder blades back and down at the same time, right? As the palms go up, the shoulder heads are going to want to kick forward. Shoulder blades are going to want to separate. Shoulder blades back. Then let that pull your chest up. Upper back action, big time. Pubic bone heavy now, shins heavy. So if your shins are light, you got to start over. And then keep the elbows back there. Plant the hands next to the ribs. Maybe a cobra or an up dog. And then for sure, eventually down dog. Right foot steps forward. Sit bone magnetized towards heel bone, torso up. Right arm up. Back of left hand against the outer right leg. And really reach the right arm up and reach the left arm down and let that pull the undercurve of the twist as you slide that left arm down. Maybe you touch the floor. Left thigh bone to ceiling. Oh, I forgot to do Vashisthasana on the other side, didn't I? Whoopsie. We'll do it. Back to symmetry. I'm skipping the dogs. I'm stepping left foot forward. Anchor, sit bone, free the torso. Left arm up, right arm down and across. And reach. Keep reaching in those two directions, like reach forever, and let that simply pour you into the twist. And now here is where we can pick up that second Vashisthasana 2 that I forgot about. Whoop. Or leave the leg out, make it Vashisthasana 1. So this pose really reveals how in a side bending posture, if the hips aren't under you, balance is tricky. So pelvis under you, both dogs if you choose it. All right, feet to hands. Bend both knees a lot. Utkatasana. Both hands in prayer. Same idea as you reach down with that left elbow, reach up or even pull up with the right elbow. So a combo here of ribs twisting and shoulder blades sliding around to get the rotation of the spine. Now many of you got the chops. You can get both hands to the floor here and do a side crow or a Dvipada Vinyasa. You re-land, chair pose, twist, reach the elbows away from each other. Find your way to stand. Let it go. Let it go. Turn sideways on your mat. Take legs wide apart. Externally rotate right leg by way of the right leg. Internally rotate left leg by way of the left leg. Soften your two knees. And then with hands on hips, swing tail to face your left foot. Swing tail to point to your right foot. And continue to swing tail left and right. Swinging tail left for me invites more internal rotation back leg, more external front leg. Right? And then the opposite is true when I swing the tail the other way. I have to work harder to keep the external rotation when tail goes more to the right leg. So engaging with the relationship of weight bearing and positioning and movement in all these various shapes. Start to side bend to the right. Keep both your knees soft. Keep both of your knees soft. Now from here, by way of the pelvis, internally rotate left leg or rotate it back to neutral and then turn it open again. By way of pelvis, both knees are soft. Swing left hip down towards the floor and then swing it open. One more time, swing it down. This puts the back leg more in external, front leg more in internal. Now can you grab your sit bone with your left hand, right sit bone with your left hand, and then pull it under as you open the pelvis, straighten both legs, triangle pose. So keep turning the pelvis open and keep swinging your right sit bone under. All at once, knees soften, torso comes up. Rotate the legs the other way. Left leg is turned out, right leg is turned in. Just checking the time. Both knees are bent. Swing tail left and right. And in theory, you're trying to, keep your legs from changing dramatically, right? My knees continue to point in the same direction. Next time, tail swings to the right, bring the rest of the spine with it. Triangle, both knees are bent. Keep both knees soft. By way of the pelvis, neutral rotation left leg, little external right leg. By way of the pelvis, turn open. A couple more times. Can you engage the inner left thigh to help move the pelvis? Engage the lateral rotators to engage the rotation of the back leg. One more time, right hand grabs left sit bone. Pull it with you as you unfurl the hips to the sky. Straighten your legs, left arm stays where it is when your right arm goes up. All at once, knees bend, torso up. Rotate the first direction again. Both knees soft. You might want to block. Half moon is coming, okay? So swing torso to left, side bend. Now here, trying to pull the floor under you with that right foot is going to pull your body over the foot. Now, by way of the pelvis, can you further externally rotate that right leg without the knee swinging? Stays over the toes. Do not be in a hurry to straighten your down leg. Up leg is straight as a board, has a lightning rod. And then the bottom leg, as you straighten it, can you lift the kneecap the whole time? Can you lift the kneecap the whole time you straighten that leg? All at once. Right knee bends, torso up, left leg lands. Switch. Side bend. Both knees soft. Soft knee triangle. Pull, if you're using a block, bring it with you. Pull the floor under you with that left leg. Stay in the bent left leg and turn the pelvis to externally rotate the left leg. Right leg long. Left leg as you straighten it. Can you bring the kneecap with you the whole time? So lifting the kneecap, I'm going to do two things I rarely do. I'm going to should, and I'm going to say never. The kneecap should never be an afterthought in terms of lifting. Part of an integrated action of the knee is the kneecap lifts the whole time the leg straightens. So there's that. All at once. Left knee bends, torso rises, right leg lands. 10 toes straight ahead, legs wide apart, step or hop, your feet right together. And then if you're dying for a Vinyasa cycle, do that. I'm going to check our time. Okay. Getting there. Face the top of your mat if you're not. Step your left leg back, spin the left heel flat. So by way of the left leg, externally rotate it, but can you keep your legs adducted? Left hip turning towards right toes. You're welcome to do Revolve Triangle here. I'm going to go for revolved side angle, Parivrita Parshvanottanasana, which is basically like a revolved warrior one. So if you're doing revolved triangle, both legs straight, go down, find your pose. If you're doing revolved side angle, takes me a minute, right? So find your warrior one. I'm going to keep my right hand behind me, inviting that outer left hip to go forward as my left elbow stacks on my right knee. Root right sit bone towards right heel, just like before. And then now, you could stay here. But if you're going deeper, as the left elbow slides down, reach it to the floor, and then you pull that right elbow to the sky. So by way of both shoulders and ribs, rotate the torso. Maybe left hand goes down. Maybe right arm goes overhead. Oh, this pose. And if you scoop right sit bone under, you're really getting the belly. Here we go now. Left hand down. I'm unpacking with the Vashisthasana 2 again. Whoop. And back to symmetry, whatever that looks like for you. to hands. You can travel by land or by air. Right foot steps back. Now, you can pause with the 10 toes straight ahead. I invite you to pause. Hands on hips. Right heel is floating because we're going to spin it to the floor. What are your options for turning the leg externally by the leg and not turning the pelvis open, or rather not abducting the legs? And if your options are limited, then that's information. Your body's suggesting, maybe some stuff to work on that. And if you're interested in what you might be able to do, go ahead and reach out if you're stumped. I'm sure you can figure it out. Left hand wrapping to invite the right back buttock flesh to swing around to the front, and left elbow on the right knee. You could stay here and keep trying to aim your left sit bone towards your left big toe, or reach right elbow down, left elbow up, and then maybe you take arm overhead. Right hand down, Vashisthasana 2. So this is tricky. Your hips are back behind the line of the right hand and right foot, and your left foot's forward. So it's like all at once, you gotta bring hips under and leg back. And then back to symmetry, whatever that looks like for you. For me, it's gonna be pausing and kneeling. Okay. From plank pose, I'm going to turn around so you can see better. From plank pose, you might watch this. So could you, what would it be like if you could like tuck or touch the back of your left knee with your right toes, right? And sort of then swing the right knee under, twisting the spine by way of the legs. Come back, switch sides. So right leg in plank, left toes tuck onto toenails against the back of the right knee, and the left knee's pointing down. And then you swing the left knee under and you come to like a warrior foot with your right leg, and you're twisting the spine by way of the legs. Right side again. And then left side again. Okay, so adding on. Oh, if you were watching, then do that a few times. I'm going to take a break. So the adding on turns it into a variation of Vashisthasana that I'm pretty sure I made up many, many, many years ago. It's like Parivrita Vashisthasana. We could call it Vashisthasana 3 if we wanted. Call it whatever you want, I don't care. It doesn't know what it's called. It's just a shape. So starting the same way, right toes tucked behind left, spin left heel to floor. And can you twist right knee to point to the ceiling and press the back of your left hand into it and turn open. La 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 la, hiya. Back to symmetry. Left side. Twist the spine by way of the legs and then open the spine by way of the ribs on top of that left arm. So a whole lot of proximal joint movements happening. One more time each side. You can extend the leg forward, back to symmetry. Back to symmetry. And I'm going here for Supta Virasana. So, If you've got some chops, you know what the pose is. And in theory, you know how to adapt it, modify it. So find your place. You could do supported bridge instead. So you could start with your feet on the floor, laying on your back, knees bent. Send your hips up, and then put a block behind your pelvis. Some front of pelvis opener without having to fold up the knees. Lumbar long. You can take arms overhead if you like, or catch opposite elbows, or hands on belly, or, right, if you've got a perspective that there's some fixed rules about this, then follow those, I guess. So those of you who are in Supta Virasana, Supta Vajrasana, whatever you call it, technically it's Supta Vajra, or Supta Vira, actually, sorry. Supine Heroes, Reclined Heroes pose. If you've got some chops, right, so first choice, just come up and lay on your back. But if you've got some chops, you can, in theory, dig the elbows down, dig the shoulders down and back, pluck one foot out at a time, and go right into your bridge pose. All right, roll down, pause. Either straighten your legs long or knock your knees together, take your feet wide apart. And then from here, if you've been in supported bridge, take the block out and you pause, and eventually we'll all roll to one side and sit up. So what I'd like to do for the rest of our time is shoulder stand and twisted plow, so Parivrita Halasana, and then combining that with some one-legged back bendy shoulder stand stuff that's pretty advanced. So you could be done now. Namaste, I love you. Otherwise, if you're game to go on, here's where you grab your 3 blankets or the bolster. So hopefully you know the shoulder stand setup. If you're using a bolster, put it on one end of the mat, so there's no mat in front of it, and then fold the rest of the mat in half, so the bolster is sort of sandwiched by the mat, but there's plenty of mat on the floor. And then here's where those 2 blocks are going to come in handy. You can sort of stack them end to end, so you have a little bit of a support to curl over into your plow. Now, if you have trouble with your elbows splaying in your shoulder stand, get your belt and you're going to loop up your elbows. Then you lay your spine, your hips, your spine on the blocks. Drape the neck along the edge of the bolster, so the curve of the neck is supported by the curve of the bolster, and the top of the back of the head is on the floor. So here's where you would slip your belt on, right? Put your arms through the belt loop from behind, and then if fingers can touch the floor, legs to the sky, and then it's a heave-ho asana. Heave-ho, get your legs up and over. Get your shoulders under you. Hands on flesh is my preference. And then the two legs up. Ideally, there's a little more weight towards the elbows, and that your feet are over your hips, not your face. So what if we keep left leg up there, toe tips like arrow tip and the bullseye on the ceiling. Don't lose your aim as you lower the right leg down. What would it be like if you could, with your left hand, touch the right foot? If it disturbs the support in your neck, don't do it. If you can keep the shoulders shrugged back and the weight's clearly in the shoulders, then great. Keep the weight in the shoulders, bring the hand back. Readjust as needed. Right leg goes for the bullseye. Right toes anchor into the bullseye. Left leg comes overhead. I should have said if the foot's on the floor. That's an important cue. Okay, scissor your legs. If left toes touch floor, and if you can keep weight in your shoulders, reach for the leg with your right hand. Keep diving right shoulder back as you reorganize the arms. Don't take left leg up, but bring right leg down. Right leg down. Okay, plow pose. I'm going to stay on the ball mounds of my feet. If you can, interlace your arms and shoot them straight back opposite the legs. Really engage the thighs, kneecaps lifting, not only towards the hips, but towards the ceiling. And then hands can come to the back again. Step the right leg to the right, and then the left leg follows it. So now the tail is in the bullseye. The right hand supporting the rib cage a lot. Left hand arm can go long behind you. If you can grab the mat, go for that. Grabbing the mat with your left hand. Twist the other way when you're ready. Step legs together in the middle. Switch the arms. Left hand stays at the ribs as the legs walk to the left, and right hand catches the mat. And I didn't say this on the first side, I should have. The outer hip, in this case right outer hip, goes up. Outer right hip away from your face. Now, right hand to the ribs. Left hand catches the outer right foot and swing the left leg up. Right leg and hand, right leg, left hand will float and reach the left leg opposite the right. So like Ekapada, Parivrita, Sarvangasana. Left leg comes back down as left hand catches the ribs. So revolved plow to the left, stepping legs apart, legs over to the right. Left hand stays on ribs. Right hand catches the left foot, and the right leg floats up, over and away
And then the left leg floats too. Dynamically reach the legs away from each other. And when you're ready, right leg returns. Both legs back to the center. Release both arms overhead to the feet. Lifting your chin, not your head, but your chin. So you tip your head back into the floor as you slowly roll the legs back out. So if it feels scary, like you don't know where the spine is going to land, bring your arms down behind you to the floor and support the rolling down of your spine. And in theory, the head stayed back on the support. I invite you to pause here and knock your knees together. Maybe drape your arms across your chest or unfurl them out to the side. You have a couple of choices. You could pluck the block out from under your pelvis, land your bum, sliding towards your feet a little, and then resting with the hips and legs on the floor and the chest and head elevated. Or you could go the other way over your bolster towards your head, and the hips stay on the bolster, and the head and shoulders go to the floor. And it's hard to make words right now for me, so be glad you don't have to. But what I'm experiencing is a dramatic sort of settling of everything, and the not talking allows me to be fully engaged with it. So go in and in and in. If you want a more traditional Shavasana and not lounging or laying on any props, then go there now. And allow yourself to settle into this now moment, the nowness of this moment. Let the breath move freely. And let the frontal lobes of the brain sort of soften, relax, and fall, nestle, bow, if you will, to the brain stem. Feel the heart rate settle. Feel all the cells settle. And send your awareness into the center of the heart. And if your general perspective in life isn't necessarily a heart-centered one, now's a good time to shift that perspective, where compassion is always, strong word, always the first choice. Thank you. I love you. Namaste.